Survivors, killers aren't assholes. Killers who use slowdown are not assholes. Killers who slug are not assholes. Killers who tunnel are not assholes. Good afternoon, evening, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. It's Ash, and today I really wanted to talk about the absolute insane amount of hate killers are getting for doing anything that can help win their matches. I want to ask you this. How often have you or someone you know said these things? This fucking toxic killer is tunneling me out. Wow, slugging for the 4K, you're so bad, kid. Wow, this fucking loser is bringing pain res, grim embrace, pop. How much regression do you need? You're so bad at the game that you have to tunnel someone out. Killers always have to play like assholes. Killer mains can't have fun. Killers make this game so boring. They're playing like an asshole if they have to camp. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of killers that will bash survivors for trying to survive and help their teammates with flashy saves, pallet stuns, or body blocking sabo plays. But they also do not understand that's what survivors need to do in order to help each other win. Killers who only play killer and never look at the other side are like this. Sadly, it's painfully common in the DBD community for survivors to just start attacking someone's character without even considering why the killer is playing the way they are. Watch a survivor mainstream or even some Fog Whisperers who only play survivor, and sometimes you'll hear some abhorrent things come out of their mouths. Even more so when surrounded by a Swift, who will all band together to shit on the killer. There's been countless videos and callouts on survivors being horribly hateful towards killers, and sadly it's only causing more and more people to treat killers the same way. And sadly, as of late, killers are needing to play more and more unfun playstyles in order to win consistently, leading to more harassment from said people. When generators take a maximum of 90 seconds to finish, even less with the abundance of gen progression perks, items, and add-ons, it's no wonder so many killers need to build pressure in other ways, be it regression, camping, slugging, or even tunneling. When the killer starts the match, they are at the weakest possible state in the game. 4 survivors can spawn in completely opposite corners of the map with full toolboxes, full pallets, full health, and to some degree a bit of stealth on their side. Finding a survivor without lethal and initiating a chase can take up to 20 to 30 seconds minimum, and that's not even counting things like exhaustion perks, pallets, strong loops, downing the survivor and carrying to the hook. And God forbid they have boil over and that they're unhookable, or a teammate comes to save them off your shoulder. And if they do get that hook and they do get pain res, one generator will regress by 20%, while 2 other gens can already be 80% done. It's very common for killers to have a decent chase at the start of the game and end up losing 1 gen before even hooking someone. Sometimes even 2 gens if a chase was particularly rough, because even with full regression, a team of survivors will still be able to knock out gens if the killer cannot pressure them. A killer's biggest tool is pressure, and without pressure, survivors are free to sit on gens unabated. Forcing survivors to make plays and get off gens is how the killers win their matches. Ideally, killers could hook everyone 12 times, but that's not how DBD works at this moment. With the constant nerfs to regression, other forms of slowdown, and the constant addition of generated rushing perks, killers are feeling more and more pressure to force survivors into situations they do not enjoy. Most killers would love to 12 hook everyone, but 12 hooking is not how killers are rewarded. Being a nice killer is how you get 4-man outed while they teabag, flashlight, noise spam you, and talk shit in the endgame chat. Do you mind, like, there you go. Like, you clearly won, just leave. Just leave and exit, please. You're wasting my time and your time. Don't you love survivors? Please leave. Thank you. Killers are not rewarded for playing nice, and if there's no incentive to play nice, then why would they do it? With more anti-tunnel perks and second chance perks coming back into the meta, killers are having a harder and harder time pressuring survivors. A majority of high MMR players know that tunneling and slugging are common tactics, and it's why you'll see more and more and more of it the more you play killer. Many survivors would say, well, just don't tunnel and chase someone else. while completely ignoring the fact that many players in the higher MMRs will use their anti-tunneling mechanics offensively, with the buff to Decisive Strike, off the record having an insane duration, and people also combining these things with Dead Hard and Unbreakable, to where you're punished for chasing someone new because their teammate with 3 safety measures is body blocking you, forcing you to down them. Trying to avoid the DS by slugging them only leads to them using Unbreakable to get up scot-free, without penalty and wasting the killer's time. And remember, ladies and gentlemen,
match time is gen time. Anytime you're not doing anything, actively pressuring the survivors as killer, that is time in the background the survivors are spending on gens.
Despite what many people think, killers do not slug and tunnel to be assholes. They slug and tunnel because there's no other way to build pressure. Yes, there's plenty of people who slug and tunnel with the express purpose of being an asshole, but we're not talking about them right now. During the endgame collapse, the killer has to camp the last survivor on hook because that's their objective. It's literally nothing personal. It has nothing to do with the killer being toxic. When the gens are gone, their only objective left is to at least get a single kill. And by leaving the hook, not only is the killer throwing by doing that, but they have literally nothing else to do. Staying by the hook means more hook trades, and more hook trade states adding more pressure to the survivor team to either leave them or risk dying trying to constantly exchange. And I already know how a few people are already typing in the comments, "I'm just an entitled killer man complaining that the game's too hard and that survivors need to be nerfed." I play both sides very frequently. I have many survivors prestiged farther than most of my killers. Killers do not like having to run regression perks. Killers do not like having to run slowdown. Killers do not like having to tunnel, and I even asked some well-known people in the community how they felt about it.
And yo, Dearest, hello, welcome in. Hi, may I ask your opinion? Do you think killers enjoy having to tunnel or camp to put pressure on the match? And are they at fault for having to tunnel someone else? Lost survivors will attack a killer's character for trying to play optimally. It's a really good question. And I kind of feel like I should answer in 2 parts here. So do you think killers enjoy having to tunnel or camp? I think the answer is probably no. There are going to be, people out there that just enjoy getting someone out of the game as quickly as possible, but for the most part, I don't think people enjoy having to tunnel. I think that's part of the problem, right? Is that like there are going to be scenarios playing as many killers where you are put in the situation where the only way to really bring back some pressure is to tunnel, right? If I'm playing as someone like Trapper and I'm playing on a large map like Ormond and there are 3 survivors working on 3 separate gens on the furthest corners of the map, realistically, I need to try and get the pressure in my side, and so I'm probably going to need to tunnel someone. It's not because I enjoy it, it's just that is the optimal strategy. I think as far as like the second point with like are they at fault for having to tunnel? Not at all, right? Like clearly tunneling is an aspect of the game that the devs not so much encourage, very much realize the existence of and are fine with. Hence why there are so many perks that prevent tunneling, right? That's why BT exists, that's why DS exists, off the record, reassurance, right? Whatever. I mean, reassurance is more camping, but clearly it's something the devs are kind of, okay with being in the game, and I think it's healthy to have something to put more pressure on the survivors, right? Like, the issue being is that if you are playing a survivor and you manage to get like 3 gens done and the killer's got 1 hook, if the killer physically couldn't tunnel, there wouldn't really be any pressure, there wouldn't be any fear in losing anymore, right? You basically won the game before it's even over. And so like with that fear of, oh shit, someone might be out of the game soon, like that could be kind of, it kind of adds like an extra layer of like threat to the game, which I think is healthy. I think the problem more so is to do with like people's self-awareness on knowing when tunneling is something that the killer should be doing, right? If I'm playing a survivor and the killer has 1 hook, right, or 2 hooks or whatever, and there are 4 gens down, if I get tunneled because I'm the only person that's been hooked, also that would have been sick. Like at that point, I understand, right, that the killer needs to get pressure, otherwise the game's over, So how can I complain if the survivors are already in, if my team is already in a much better position anyway? How can I complain, It's the same as camping, right? Like, if the last gen's popped and the killer's camping, like, what other options do they really have,
Do you think killers enjoy running slowdown, tunneling, slugging for pressure, or are they kind of forced in most cases? So, 99% of killers are forced into slowdown builds. Tunneling is way too vague of a concept to ask if someone enjoys it or not. And slugging is pretty much in the same boat. I don't think I've ever met a single person that says they enjoy running slowdown, though.
I don't think the process is particularly fun. It's just something you have to do. There are games that are unwinnable unless you like throw on a couple gen slow and tunnel someone. That is something no one can argue. Some games you literally do have to play like that to win. There's absolutely no actual counter argument to that. No one could ever refute that. It's just true. It sucks. I wish there were better methods that were more fun for everybody. Like, that sucks. But that's just how it is. Sometimes you gotta do it. You'll lose otherwise. Can't 12 stage against good teams. Yeah. Ideally we'd all 12 hook every team and get our first kill on the 9th hook. You know, that's ideal, but that only works against mediocre teams.
I mean, I think in a lot of scenarios, if you're doing it for pressure and like you know that you're throwing the game if you don't tunnel or camp, then there's nothing wrong with that, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with doing anything in a video game. That being said, there are certain things that do just... Like, if you're at 5 gens and you're nursed with 4 slowdown, and you decide to just tunnel out the first person you see for efficiency, quote-unquote, you are playing like an asshole. In point blank period. You're playing like a dick. It's happening. I think it depends from scenario to scenario. But I don't think killers enjoy running slowdown, just like the survivors. Well, I don't know. I guess some second chances can kind of be fun to use, but slowdown on killer is just kind of a necessity rather than a fun thing to use. I'm sure if like it wasn't if slowdown was not something that was needed in any match whatsoever, people would enjoy just running other stuff like aura reading or fucking I don't know. It just kind of depends. Dearest, like in the scenario of you're down 3 gens and no one is dead. Yeah, no. What else are you going to do other than try to get someone out early? By early, I mean most of the game is progressed by that point, but you don't really have another choice there. Unless you just want to throw. I guess that's an option. But other than that, I mean, not really much of a choice. But you don't need my opinion on that. If like the fact that you're curious about it means that you want to have the other side somewhat enjoying the game as well. You don't want it to be miserable for everyone. So, at the very least, you have some form of empathy there by asking that question.
I really want survivors to know that this is not your fault, and this is not the killer's fault. It sadly comes down to the game design, unfortunately. And instead of the constant us versus them mentality this community is plagued with, we really, really need to look at the game as a whole for everyone. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering why I even made this video, and that's because for the longest time, I was like the people I'm describing here. Someone who would get mad, blame the killer, call them an asshole without even considering what's happening in the game. But after meeting both roles evenly, I've gained a broader perspective on the game as a whole, and I just want everyone to enjoy the game. If you're a survivor main, I'd really like to challenge you for the next season whenever this takes place. I want you to main killer. Really main killer. Not play a match or 2 and then go back to survivor. Genuinely main killer with the goal of hitting Eerie 1. And getting your favorite 3 killers to at least Prestige 9, which is all the rewards for that killer. And I want to see if your perspective has changed at all in that time. And killers, I encourage you to do the same. The best way we can get rid of this whole us versus them mentality is to understand one another. I just want people to understand that just because a player has to do something that isn't fun for you, doesn't mean they're being an asshole, and it doesn't mean they're trying to upset you. That's just what happens to ensure a win sometimes. At the same time, avoiding BM, being good sports, and not attacking people for playing in a way you don't like would be a great start. After all, as we all should have learned as kids, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Anyways, thank you for your time, guys. I do plan on making more videos in the future. It took me a while to figure out how to put this video together, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I hope I can make more fun content like this in the future. Let me know what you guys think about this whole tunneling and camping subject in the comments below. But yeah, until then, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.